All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Day Zero Training Podcast. Dylan, what's good, bro?
Yes, sir. What up? What up?
How are you, big dog? How are you? It's good to
Good,
see
bro,
you. It's
good.
good to be
How are
back. We're back here doing the thing again, man. It's
Doing
been
the
a couple
thing.
weeks, but it's always been a couple weeks. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. We're great at this.
so we tried to get this going, and we texted about it last week, and I had the times messed up. The time change did not happen in Australia. You guys don't do the time change, or
Certain states do it. So down south, they'll do it, but up north, nah, we don't do it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had that screwed up pretty bad, which caused me to think the podcast was happening at one time and Dylan to think the podcast was happening at a different time.
I literally woke up like an hour later. I was like, oh, fuck. That's not good.
Which caused the podcast not to happen. So that's okay, though. We're here. We're back. We're doing it. What's up, everybody? It's good to have everybody in here. Thank you guys if you guys are watching on X, Twitch, or YouTube. We're not doing it kicking anymore. We're just doing it on these three platforms. We're glad to have you in here. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a chill day. We're not going to go for too long today. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter one. Not too much like studies or science or anything like that. Definitely more of a chill vibe today. We got a couple things to talk about though.
Yes, sir.
That I want to address first. First of all, as we always do on these podcasts, it's episode 11, man. We got to keep shouting them out. Mm-hmm. The Innovators Think Tank, they always do great stuff. That's Josh, that's Mattia, that's Kevin over at the Innovators Think Tank on X. If you guys are watching on X, welcome in. If you're not, totally okay. You can check us out. We send some tweets over there. There's a little Day Zero community over there. You can join. Check us out. It's a good time. Listen, those guys over there at the Innovators Think Tank, they do fantastic work every single Saturday. If you have a project, business idea, man, that's the place to be. They are truly changing the game, truly bringing a lot of heavy hitters into those sessions. It's a good time. It's a good place to be. It happens pretty much all afternoon into the evening on Saturday. Sessions go from 6 hours to 8 hours to 10 hours. It's been the longest one. So shout out to those guys for building something absolutely incredible over there on X. It's always a good time. March Madness, dog. We got to talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Well, I really want to talk about that.
Yeah, man.
because who is that guy? We were talking a little bit about it before the podcast started, but what's his name? Jack something?
Yeah, someone. He's like from like no. Where's he from? Oakland, which is his name's like Jack Michigan. Something. He just went mental against Kentucky the other day, and just bro, like it's one thing to be hot when you're shooting, but this guy was in a different dimension. Like the shots he was taking are not even good shots, like at all.
No.
Like it's not like he was open or like he was half open or they didn't put a hand up. Like Kentucky did literally everything they could against this guy and he still hit everything.
Yeah.
Like how you and to have never heard of this dude before, like as well. It's like I don't even know who this. I don't know what his name is. You said it's Jack something, but
yeah,
like
it is Jack something. Yeah,
he, like I'm talking, pulling up off a screen, like one leg off balance, just launching it and hitting everything wet. Like I don't think it touched the rim once.
No,
I don't think I've seen the ball touch the rim. He hit the backboard. He banked one in. Mm-hmm. I've seen him bank a hella deep one, but like other than that, he didn't touch the rim once. Everything was just wet. I was like, I mean, if you're gonna do it against Kentucky. That's a fact. But like,
yeah,
I got to talk to my boy Niv and see what happened with his team. Yeah. But like, oh my god,
bro! I mean, it was already upset after upset after upset, and it was the last game of the night, I think. And so then to watch him do something like that against Kentucky was crazy. There were like 4 or 5 of us. I was at the gym while it was happening, and there were like 4 or 5 of us. There's like a TV right when you walk in. There's like a front desk in the TV, and there were 4 or 5 of us just watching the game. This one guy, I don't know basketball too well. Definitely not as much as I know football, especially when it comes to like college teams. Like I don't really know college teams. I never heard of Oakland before. I don't think a lot of people had heard of Oakland before. Right. But this one of the guys we were standing there with, it was like he was plugged in to the to the ESPN stat
the Comcast
machine, yeah. So then he was like rattling off all these stats. He was talking about all the players. He was talking about the coaches. I was like,
damn,
this is the guy to watch the games with. This is the guy to talk about parlay with. But yeah, I was pretty mind blown by what he was doing in that game. And then the Japanese Steph Curry. We got to talk about him too.
Yeah. He's the one from Nebraska, right?
Or I think he's somewhere. Yeah, I had to pull that. Hold on. I believe
like Nevada or something. I think it's Nebraska.
Let's see.
But this guy's crazy as well, bro. Like same thing, just pulling up, hitting everything, like never miss it. I was just like, and it wasn't just threes. Like he was wheeling and dealing in the paint. He was doing all kinds of stuff, and just I don't know, just having the game of his life. I guess it happens. Like I know I've definitely seen it and experienced what it's like when you get hot as a shooter or as a playmaker. Like you feel like everything is in slow motion for you, and obviously these two guys just had the same thing during these games. And bro, when you get into a zone like that, it's tough to stop, man. Like
right
because the thing is, like as a shooter, if you can get in the paint too and like you have good vision and things like that, you're basically unstoppable if you're seeing what they're seeing when you're in the zone. Like the second you hit a couple of threes, everyone's hella pressed up on you. You blow by them in the lane, floater, pull up, dish out to someone else, find your big inside. Like the amount of opportunities that open up when you hit a couple of shots is ridiculous. And these guys are doing that as well. Maybe not the Jack guy. He was just shooting everything.
Yeah, he was playing a backyard game or like a pickup game.
He was just launching everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, this other guy from Nebraska, he was doing a little bit of everything, but like some of the shots he was taking were tough shots, and he was just hitting so much. So yeah, as a basketball player who's played at the college level, like that shit is exciting to watch. Like that's cool.
Yeah, and from what I've read, I don't know where in Japan he's from, but from what I've read, he played on their national team, and so he's kind of like a representation of the country in a sense in the midst of this tournament from the things that I've seen online, which is super cool. I mean, that's super sick. That people are from around the world playing in one of the biggest weekends and biggest tournaments, biggest months of the year. So players making moves, man. Players making moves, and that Jack guy was like, I saw an interview with him. He was like, I'm never going to make it to the NBA, but blah, 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 blah. It was a fun experience. And then everybody in the comments was like, I don't know about that, buddy. Like
that one game might have changed that.
You're showing a lot of potential here, which is cool. So
get this man a 10-day.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's pretty wild. And there was a game too. I don't know if they've done this in the past. Again, I'm not as plugged into basketball as I am to the NFL, but like the games were pretty early the other day, like at 11:30 in the morning, the Arizona game. So that was interesting just to hear some of those commentators just talk about like players waking up earlier, players got to start their routine earlier, like 6 a.m. as opposed to, I don't know if you played morning games like that before. But.
We played like midday, like sometimes, like the occasional one, but like a lot of the time it was in the evening. But yeah, on the odd occasion it was like a midday game. We would definitely have to be up earlier, bed earlier the night before.
Sure.
Some people lift before they play as well. Like it just puts them in a more aggressive mindset, not to like lift to get fucking sore or anything like that, but like just lift to put yourself in like an aggressive, I guess, mindset. I used to do it. Like I would go in and do a quick little lift just to feel something and get my body moving as well before playing. So
interesting.
Just feeling like upper body wise, like just to feel strong heading into the game and stuff like that. I used to do that, but some people don't. And it's another thing too, is like if you're getting up and playing, if you're playing earlier, you can't eat too close to the game. So you got to make sure you're fed early, like early breakfast, maybe something light, at 10 a.m. or something like that. So it just sort of settles before you have to play at midday or whatever. But yeah, those early games are definitely different compared to like your usual like 6 p.m. game or something like that. That's for sure.
Are you in charge of all that, or do you have like is there some staff who's like, okay, which may be one of the coaches who's like, okay, you guys need to be eating now, and then this, and this, or are they like, this is what's happening, you guys have to show up?
I think it depends on the level. Like I think as a like on a community college level, there's a little bit more. I don't know if I'd call it freedom, but a little bit more choice in what you do. I'd say at the higher levels, they're probably like, this time you need to do this, and this time we're eating, and this time we're lifting, and this time you got like it's probably more scheduled out. But you know, we had a few of our team that were very like switched on with that, and then a few that weren't so much. So some of us would do it, some of us wouldn't. It's not really you know, mandatory to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, we just kind of knew it, our own bodies and stuff, and would just manage it ourselves for the most part.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder, like, there was I was looking for jobs a little bit ago, and there was a opening for a nutritionist on the Broncos, and it's interesting. Like, it's one thing for off-season preparation where you're just slow and consistent, and you kind of know everybody's training and stuff like that. But when it comes to in-season stuff, it's way different. At game day, it's way different. So I don't know really anything about any kind of like game day preparation or anything like that when it comes to getting athletes ready for the game. So I just would love to know more about, and maybe we can kind of explore this later. Maybe I can get like a nutritionist from a team on or something, like a local team on or something. But exploring like, what does game day look like when you have to prepare? And like you were saying, like some guys lift, you know, just like getting the mindset, getting the headspace, which is obviously like 40% of what you can actually lift. But that's cool. That's super interesting. I'd be curious to see what like the day in the life looks like for a nutritionist on game day. You know what I mean? I'm sure everybody has their own approach. Some people are probably very, very hands off. Some people are probably really, really hands on, and probably down like right, and probably at the like NFL level, like those guys probably have their own. I know I would.
Yeah, I'd say like they'd probably have a person each, or like a collective like team nutritionist that was like, hey, here's your breakfast, here's yours, here's yours, here's yours. But like if you're, I guess you couldn't really have one person for an entire NFL team. Like that's a lot of people to keep down to the T on a game day. Like you imagine trying to, how many people are in an NFL team?
Too many for one person to
right. So like you'd have to have a couple at least. Like I don't know if you've got like one for your O-line, one for your running backs, like one for QBs or something. I don't know how one for special teams. Like you'd have to have at least 5 probably.
From the short amount of information that I've gathered from being in that position on a team, you're actually kind of hands off, like outside of when people are actually in the facility. So I would assume that you're not super hands on game day, and that I would, if I was a coach, and obviously I don't know the ins and outs, but if I was a coach, I would encourage all my guys to get some kind of like personal nutritionist that only works with them. And I'm sure they do. But also those guys have been doing it for such a long time and they're professionals. So, yeah, that's cool stuff. Delving into the world of sports science, it's way different. And I'm kind of finding that out now. I have a client right now who I'm training, training for a triathlon, an Ironman right now.
Okay.
And we're in the very, very early stages of that, but preparing somebody to like go to the gym, like with a pre-workout meal and then a post-workout meal and like get your protein in during the day type of thing, it's a way different vibe, way different energy than, preparing somebody for a triathlon, especially like the nutrition is just so much more important, right? Because you need to sustain that person's body for
so
hours and hours and hours and hours. And that's just during. Like you also have to train your body in certain ways to make sure your body's ready to utilize those calories, utilize whatever macronutrients in the right way to during the race. And you have to train your body to do that up to the race. So you're not just training, you're not just doing running, you're not just doing swimming, you're not just doing biking, but you're also doing, you're also training your body to utilize those nutrients in a different way, which I'm still learning about for sure. It definitely wasn't my expertise going into training this person, but it is slowly. I think every day I learn a little bit more. Also, recovery is huge for that. Huge for that. So definitely a new world, that sports science. It's pretty interesting for sure. Did you ever have, like, when you played, did you ever have like a personal coach, like nutrition coach?
Not a nutrition coach. Nah, like the level I was at wasn't like that high up to be able to have that sort of thing. But like, I don't know. I kind of knew from my own research like what I needed to be eating and things like that. So, and a lot of it is knowing your body too. Like, I was playing basketball for fucking 15 years, man. So like, I kind of knew my body well enough to be like, okay, like I know if I eat these things leading up to a game, I'm going to feel sick during a game. Or if I eat these things leading up to a game, I'm going to feel good during a game. Or like, if I eat this, I'm probably going to be hungry by the time it comes time to play, or like whatever it might have been. Again, it's testing it and like knowing your body and knowing what it can take and what you can eat. But again, it's like you said, probably on a different level if you've got a personal nutritionist or someone that is doing all your shit for you that knows what they're on about. But like, yeah, for me, it was just what am I going to be able to eat that I'm not hungry and I feel my best during the game, and you know, like you said, sustain the energy and things like that as well. Yeah, it's one of those where you just have to manage it yourself if you don't have someone doing it for you. So
yeah. Do you think that takes up? First of all, Large Banana, what's going on?
Yep.
Welcome back. The podcast is back.
Back,
man. We're doing it. Yeah, that's one of the things I learned from watching like Chris Bumstead. I think just a long time ago, like the first time I watched one of his documentaries was like how much of a team it takes to like get guys ready for game day and stuff like that. So taking that mindset out of it, and I think that this can be applied. This is kind of the same thinking, to be honest, that if I was consulting with somebody who was a business owner or a CEO or something to that effect, that I would tell them it's such a large part of your life, right? Nutrition and fitness and recovery and sleep and recovery and managing all that, that it definitely takes away from the energy you could be spending on doing something else. So like any energy that you would, or mental capacity that you would be spending on, because everybody's got that, right? Everybody is, we're not invincible, you know? So being able to take away all the thought and the stress and the energy that you would put into that kind of thing, and hand it over to somebody else, I think is a cool opportunity that online coaching definitely provides for a ton of people. And it's kind of weird, like the parallel there between, not weird, but I think it's fascinating, the parallel between the sports world and the business world, and how much of an impact like that private coaching can make, which is dope.
Yeah, definitely. And like this is the thing, you know, like you said, nutrition's applied in so many ways, but there are so many intricate, small little things as an athlete that you may not think about, or like as someone who doesn't have the correct information or all of the information, you know, it's very easy to steer off the path as well. And you know, the thing that springs to mind in that sense is like you look at like a Sam Sulek, right? Dude has blown up and you know become extremely popular on socials, but like his physique, yes, it's insane, but if you ever listen to him talk about his nutrition and his training and his like, and something like hydration, which is like super underrated, everyone's like, you're always drinking something, but like you're never drinking water. And he's like, yeah, because water's not going to hydrate me. He's like, it's got like electrolytes in it. It's got something else in it. It's got his creatine in it. Like he's got this fucking jug that he carries around with him, never has water in it ever. And dude documents his daily life. And it's like, you know, it's one of those things where, I don't know, he must know something because I mean,
he does.
I mean, like that's the thing. Like the average Joe is under the impression that the best way to hydrate yourself is water, and
right.
I guess your body can only absorb so much just straight water before you start just pissing it out. And so
Mm-hmm.
he understands to a degree like what his body needs for, I guess, the best performance in the gym / best pumps and things like that. And you know, he's taking advantage of his knowledge because I'm pretty sure he's studying sports science or like something along those lines at university. I don't know exactly what his degree is in. But he's a really smart dude. Like people look at him and they see his physique and they think he's like just this big fucking dumb meathead.
Right.
But if you actually like delve into his content, you'll realize he actually knows what the fuck he's talking about. And like, yeah, sure, like steroids aside, if he was still natural, he'd still have a sick physique because he knows so much. But like anyone that's looking at competing and going into that world, you know, because he's looking at doing classic in the next year or two. Anyone who's going into that world, you need to be on something, obviously. You know, if you're going to compete with the likes of C-Bum and those guys. So it's just, yeah, it's a crazy topic. So it's something you could really, if you knew a lot about it, like you could go into it for hours and hours and hours. But
right.
Yeah.
Hydration is like, I am no expert on hydration. However, there are instances where you have to pay more attention to that kind of thing, like using some kind of liquid IV or some kind of Pedialyte or some kind of electrolyte formula or something like that, especially when it comes to a more hybrid style of training, right? But we're not just talking about the gym. And so Sam Sulek, I don't follow his stuff too much, so you probably know a lot more than I do. But for whatever like pumps he's trying to achieve and like the ways that he's manipulating carbs, especially when he's leaner and stuff like that, that's probably looks different for him. And like the creatine that he's using and stuff like that looks different for him. But if you're focused on like hybrid training or hydration, I mean, hydration is important regardless.
Yeah.
But proper hydration is even more important because you're going to lose a lot of energy really fast if you're not properly hydrated, and your body's going to start to shut down really quickly. And so not shut down in like a death way, but like
fatigue.
Yeah,
like
fatigue.
And, duration's not going to be there. Yeah,
exactly. And so and doing that, the biggest thing about hydration that I always talk to people about is you're not hydrating for that day. You're hydrating for that day yesterday, right? And the day before that, and the day before that. So if you're planning on doing some kind of run, if you're planning on doing some kind of event, like like for the Spartan race, this is a very simple example, but for the Spartan race, we all had a liquid IV the night before. We drank the whole liquid IV. Everybody had to drink the whole liquid IV the night before.
Yeah.
So we could utilize those carbs and electrolytes and stuff like that during the race day. And so simple stuff like that, you got to make sure your body's prepared for that kind of thing. And trying to do it all at once, make all those changes like we were talking about with the triathlete. Like you need to prepare your body for the intense activity that it's about to endure, right? And so it's not the easiest thing to don't hydrate for that day.
No.
And that's a big thing we talk about in the military too. When we do ruck marches and you're going for 12 miles with 40 pounds on your back, your body's using shit quickly, and that's a very that's a very basic way to say however you fuel your body in the days leading up to the ruck march is what your body's going to use for that exercise, which sounds very simple. But you think about, it's only like one beer the night before, it's a couple of shots the night before, like you're doing a lot of damage to your body for sure. So all that being said, hydration is key, and it's especially key when you're trying to manage recovery when doing like hybrid training, and we talk about, I mean, the title of this stream is new training styles. And so if you're switching up training styles, if you're doing more hybrid training, more of the gym stuff, whatever you're doing, preparing your body the coming days before is really important, especially when you're switching up like that.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think if you're not like, if you've got something like that, like an event or like game day or whatever, like it can't just be like, okay, I'm going to prepare today because my game's today or my event's today.
Right.
Like the weeks leading up to it, like you have to understand that your nutrition is super important the same way your training is super important. Like you're not just going to go, like, say for example, like your Spartan race, like I guarantee you guys weren't eating McDonald's the night before.
No, we were not. We were eating steak fajitas. If the boys are in here right now,
right,
amazing steak fajitas. That's what we're
like
doing.
You're not eating something that's going to run through your body, and then the next day you're going to feel like shit. Because I know, like me personally, if I eat takeout the night before and then I have to go and exercise the next morning, bro, my stomach is a mess, bro.
Absolutely.
Like I'll be lifting, like needing to shit, because like the way that fast food, I mean, it's called fast food, like it digests and goes through your system super quickly, which is why if you ever notice when you eat fast food, you feel hungry like an hour and a half later, because that shit just goes straight through your system. And then like the next day, if that's what you've eaten the night before, you're going to feel terrible. So going into like a Spartan race or a game or a triathlon or whatever it might be that you're doing, you know, like you said, it's the night before or the day before, you know, that's going to fuel you for whatever you're doing the following day. So,
yeah. So fuel your body, right? And do a little bit of research before whatever your activity you're doing the next day, right? Because, you know, lifting is different than, you know, some kind of endurance training. If you got a longer run, then some more carbs, maybe less fats. You're not going to be able, like, if you have a morning gym session, maybe some more fats and a little bit of carbs before you go to bed. Laker dudes. What do you mean? McDonald's is the best, bro. I slam a chicken McNugget meal or double quarter pounder every time before I go to the gym.
Nah, bro. Nah. Bro, if I'm having takeout, it's not McDonald's. That's a fact. Dude.
I want to touch on something real quick. The interesting thing about Sam Sulek, is that he only ever trains to failure. Training to failure, I mean, pretty sure we did a whole episode on that, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
We did, yeah. So on YouTube, go check out the episode on Training to Failure.
Spotify, if you want it on audio.
Exactly. If you're, you know, commuting to work, you want to learn how to train to failure, go on Spotify. I think in general, training to failure is a great tool, right? Tool in the toolbox. We say that shit all the time. The training to failure, as long as you're not being stupid about it, like I was the time that I was on the hack squat. As long as you're not being stupid about it, then training to failure is a great tool. Especially if you're just bodybuilding. If you're trying to manage recovery, if you're powerlifting, no. If you're doing some kind of endurance training as well, probably not. But if you're just focused on bodybuilding, taking pretty much every set, and if not every set always, but every exercise at least one set to failure, I would argue that you're generally not maximizing hypertrophy. Now, there are a lot of ways to reduce hypertrophy. However, that is one way, especially pushing like past plateaus and stuff like that. That's one way to really do that. So I don't think training to failure is a bad thing. Also, anecdotally, and I know you weren't saying it was a bad thing, but I just wanted to touch on that real quick. And anecdotally, I feel like training to failure just makes you feel better. Definitely. Like, I feel like mentally I leave the gym and I feel more accomplished. I feel like I gave it everything that I had, right? Instead of, you know, I left some in the tank. I think one of the biggest mistakes somebody can make when they're going into the gym, and I used to do this a ton, and I think some people who maybe I started training with, like we would kind of do this, like when I was a lot younger, when I started training and leaving. And if you're training for hypertrophy and if you're training in kind of a straight set fashion, you don't have any kind of special like RIR or percentages or anything like that, leaving some reps in the tank because you don't want to get tired so that way you can work harder later, I think is kind of a myth. Would you agree with me, Dylan, on that? You kind of know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's like I saw a clip recently of CBum training with David Lade. You know David Lade?
Yep.
Gymshark guy or ex Gymshark guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they were training together, and David Lade like finished his set of whatever they were doing, and Chris looked at him like you're done? He's like, yeah, like, and he's like, you didn't even struggle. He's like, yeah, but I got to save my energy for like the rest of the workout. And Chris is like, that's not how you train. Like that's not like if you're in the bodybuilding industry and you're like, trying to get bigger and trying to get stronger and all those kind of things, like you can't be pulling up like on any sets, especially like at CBum's level, obviously, like it's different. Sure. And again, like the going back to the point of Sam Sulek only ever training to failure, it's very dependent on his split as well. So like you might train to failure and absolutely annihilate a certain part of your body, but then you don't have to train that body part for another 4 days, you know, like, so you've got time and someone like Sam, whose recovery I'm sure is on point, and, you know, like CBum, their recovery is on point, like all those guys. I imagine that those guys, you know, understand that, yes, I'm training to failure, but also by the time I need to train this body part again, it's fine. Like they've been doing it for so long. They've been doing it down to a science that they understand that I can train to failure every single rep, you know, on chest on Monday. And then when it comes time for another push day on Thursday or Friday, like my body's going to be good to go and I'm all sweet. Like, and that's just one way of looking at it, I guess, to understand your body, and training to failure doesn't necessarily have as many repercussions if you know what you're doing. It's the people that overtrain, and that's probably where a lot of people worry about training to failure, is if you're overtraining, and, you know, cause injuries and leading to, you know, all kinds of other issues down the line. But I think as long as they're not pushing that overtraining limit and their body recovers okay before they go again, then like obviously they're going to be fine.
Right. Right. I think what's key about overtraining is you can shock your central nervous system if you start to overtrain. And overtraining, I think, in the gym is hard to do, I think, in general. And that's not backed up by any kind of study. I mean, maybe there's literature that backs that up, but I think that in general, overtraining in the gym is definitely difficult to do, because your body will give up. like if you're working hard, your body will stop being able to.
Yeah, well, like if you're training chest every day, if you're training chest every day, like you're not going to be able to push it by day 3. Like
absolutely, you know? Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So if you're doing that, that's a great example. I didn't think about that. If you're doing that, like you're training the same body part like 3 days in a row, or like one
even
day out,
3 days a week,
one day off, one day out, one day. Yeah, that's a little bit too much because you know you have to give your body time to recover. But if you're doing some kind of hybrid style training, I mean, we're talking about styles of training. You're doing something hybrid like that. I remember when I first switched over from bodybuilding straight to hybrid training, and I kind of did I worked with my coach a little bit just to kind of see like this is the plan I had for myself. Gave that to him and kind of showed him like when I was preparing for the Spartan race. He was like, the only thing that I'm worried about is shocking your central nervous system, and so. I learned a lot through that experience, and I got sick midway through my preparation, and part of that I think maybe could be because of overtraining, but part of it was just I got sick. But that can happen quick if you're doing like a lift and then a run and then a run and then a lift. Like it can happen pretty quick, so you have to be.
If you weigh your body down to a point where you know, you're struggling and your body just isn't used to it, and you're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and then you go, oh shit, like your body's just going to come back to you and go, what are you doing? Right. And it's going to be like, I don't like that, and it's just going to destroy you in the long run. So I think you need to be careful, especially like when you do initially switch up your style of training. You can't always just full send, which is why sometimes you see these people that go, oh, I'm going to do 75 hard. And it's like, okay, but like, do you have a base level of fitness to be able to go in and do 75 hard? Or are you just doing it because you've seen it on social media and you're like, I could do that kind of thing? So,
yeah, I think sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go for it. You're all good.
I was just going to say, like, I actually know 2 people who are doing 75 hard right now. And I was talking to one of them today, and I was like, how's the 75 hard going? And she was like, it's going okay. And they're about 30 days in. And I want to say 75 hard, that's a great, like mentally, it's a great goal. Like, oh yeah, like get after it every single day. Like, go for it.
Upstairs, yeah.
However, I believe for a more optimal approach to a training split, to get the most out of that training split, I think you're going to lose a lot when you start to ignore the positive aspects of proper rest, right? And proper rest and recovery is going to help you push harder in future lifts. And generally, we'll talk about this from a bodybuilding perspective, just so I can kind of paint the picture. And we talked about this before, I believe, but if generally take a bodybuilder, maybe a classic physique, and there are parts of his physique that need to improve and parts that are probably okay for wherever he's at. We're talking about the long game here over many, many, many years. So maybe you need to work on your shoulders, right? That's not something you're going to put towards the end of the week, because you want everything you can give to that shoulder day. Train to failure, hit those sets hard, hit heavier sets, or more reps, like whatever it is, you need to hit that hard, right, at the beginning of the week. Towards the end of the week, let's say maybe your legs are already a strong point of yours, we would maybe put those towards the end of the week, so that way when you walk into the gym on Saturday morning and you've already trained 7 days that week and you've had maybe one rest day on Tuesday or Wednesday, like you have a little bit more opportunity to – you're not going to be able to push as hard. And that's just if you're training to failure, you're not going to – or if you're training hard, 80 to 90% of your intensity, you are not going to be able to, get the most out of that leg day. So doing something like that consistently, like a challenge like 75 hard, I say, like for mental health and for the challenge, I'm always up for something like that. So it's dope. I mean, I hope that they complete it, but you do have to realize you are hindering, I think, some lifts, in my opinion. And I think there would be some science to back that up.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. Like I guess my whole thing is with 75 hard is you're lifting 7 days a week, but then you're also not getting a rest day before the next week. So you're literally lifting for 75 days straight, like as well as whatever outdoor exercise. So like, I mean, obviously anyone that doesn't know 75 hard, you have to do 45 minutes indoor workout and 45 minutes outdoor workout. I'm pretty sure is what it says, or maybe it's 30. Maybe it's 30 minutes. Yeah. So you've got to do 2 workouts a day, 1 indoor, 1 outdoor. It might be 30 minutes. I could be wrong on that, but you need to do that for 75 days straight, as well as consume a certain amount of water, read a certain amount of pages of a book, get a certain amount of sleep each night. Like it's fucking down to the T to do something like that, which is why I've not opted to do something like that yet. I may at some point as like an experiment to see, I guess, what benefits it can bring me. But for me, I've just started a YouTube channel for my fitness stuff, which is all new. I don't think I've even told you this yet, Jack. So I've obviously got my fitness TikTok account, which is under Dylan J Fitness on TikTok, but I've just started a YouTube channel under the same name, which I will be beginning a becoming a hybrid athlete series, because like Jack obviously knows, like I want to start running, and I've started running, obviously, like we talked about this in the new year that I've started running. But I think it'd be a really cool opportunity to go into like a hybrid athlete space first. And especially documenting, because right now I'm 105 kilos, which I mean, Jack, you could probably translate that to pounds on Google real.
215 ish.
Yes,
I think it's like times 2, like times 2.1 or 2.2 or something.
231.
Okay.
So I'm at 231 pounds right now, and obviously I know there's extra weight on that I don't need. So for me, this journey to a hybrid athlete is to not only document like getting into running, but like also, going from 105 kilos down to like 90 kilos, which is where I was previously. So that's 15 kilos that I'm trying to lose, which if you look at me, it doesn't look like I've got 15 kilos to lose. But I also know what I look like at 90 kilograms. So I know that there is room to improve and room to lose it. So my YouTube goal is to document the journey of becoming a hybrid athlete, tracking the weight loss progression as it is, and just understanding like what goes into that as far as meal prepping, tracking your macros, adjusting your macros, all those kind of things. So I kind of want to do like, I guess a 2-month video experiment as such, to go forward and do it that way for YouTube, and just see where it goes, and go from there.
That's sweet. Yeah, it's a great way to track progress too. There's a lot of different ways to track progress, and if you're switching up what you're doing, then your body's going to change definitely. If you're going from mainly gym to adding in some, I was going to say, next thing I was going to say was drop it down in the description.
Yeah, please. I'll drop the link in the chat.
But if you're switching it up, if you're changing it up, just be aware that your body's going to respond to that. It may take a little bit, but your body will respond to that. I think the other thing too, that I wanted to touch on in this is going kind of from 5 or 6 days of training a week. What do you do when you have to go from that to you need another Monster, bro?
Nah, bro, I'm good. Yeah. Had to top off that one.
Sure, you look like you were stranded in the desert trying to drink the rest of that one. We need the sponsorship, bro. You're always drinking.
I need the fridge, bro. I need the Monster fridge in the background here.
Yeah, you need
Hey, Monster, hit me up.
You need a Day Zero fridge there in the background.
Right, true. Well, I mean, you're the boss, man, so make it happen.
Hey, fridges are expensive, man.
Blaker dudes, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right, let's go, Blaker. Come on,
much love.
Hell yeah. I want to touch on a couple things that the comments are saying real quick before we kind of pivot into that discussion. It's best to have a personal trainer or buddy there if you're going to failure. It is. We've talked about that before on previous episodes. I sometimes, like, if I'm not feeling myself in the gym, I'll like try and imagine, maybe this is whack, but I'll try and imagine like somebody else is there, like being an asshole to me, or like I'm standing behind myself, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
don't be a pussy.
Yeah, like David Goggins or somebody like that, like standing behind me, or like Jocko Willink or something like that.
Yeah.
Because people will, man. People who you can trust and who you have your best interests in mind, like they will definitely push you to be better, and that will directly result in your physique. I promise you. If you can find a gym partner, then you're set, man. You're set. My trainer usually makes sure he has to jump in and help a little for the final reps. If I'm there by myself, I'm not going to go that hard. Yeah. I the beautiful thing about being a trainer and being a coach is that you see the athlete from the outside, and you can push them further than they can push themselves generally, right? And obviously you have to create a relationship with your athlete so that way you can both move forward and like understand boundaries of boundaries and capabilities of your body, right? But in general, I think that uh, going a little bit past what you think you can do every single time is the mark of a good coach, of a good trainer. And the best leaders, trainers, whether they were in the fitness realm or whether they were, the first thing that comes to mind is leadership in the military, just pushing you past kind of what you can do, right? That's important. I vary between phases of training to failure and training to reps, but then I'm not trying to get bigger, right? So you switch up your training, and you got to realize that with switching up your training, there comes a point where your body's not going to respond if you're not doing the same training. Your body, excuse me, let me rephrase that. Your body's not going to respond the same as it was before if you're not doing the same training, which could be a great thing. It could be totally fine, or it could be not so great. There's kind of been a period now not anymore, but at the beginning of this year where I definitely wasn't training as much, and I could tell in my body when I would look at myself, be like, I'm not training as much, I'm not pumped up as much, right? But that's okay because that's the point I was at in life, right? And I knew that was going to happen. So like if you are training 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and you go down to 3 or 4, you definitely have to accommodate for that and make some changes if you want to maintain the muscle or maintain the physique or maintain the cardiovascular level that you have been working for a long time. And Dylan, you touched on it before, but making sure that if you're training for 2, 3, 4 days a week, I'd say maybe this more applies to people who are training 2 or 3 days a week. Around 3 days a week is what I'd recommend if somebody had a tight schedule, right? What you're doing for that is intense work. And sometimes people don't have the time to do a ton of reps, right? Or a ton of sets of anything. However, I would strongly encourage you to try and make a little bit extra time in your day if you're only able to, train 3 days a week, and make those sets as high quality as possible. Now, what does a high quality set mean? Just fucking go hard. And that's it. That's it. Listen, no PhD, no master's degree, no nothing like that. So the advice from like a human being today is just go fucking hard. Pick up heavier weight than you think you can do more reps than you think you can do, and go really intense. And then you're going to feel great because your body, let's say you do a chest or like a push day, a pull day, and a leg day, right? And you're giving your body a whole week to recover from that day. So go in there and wreck your body. Like you have the opportunity to do that. You're going to be sore, definitely, for a couple of days. But push it hard, run faster, lift harder. That's like the blanket advice that I think I would give to somebody if they were like, oh, no, I can only train 2 or 3 days a week. Make those intense sessions. Not right away. Maybe after a week or two of like getting to know your body on a new schedule, but train hard, train intense. Your body's going to thank you for it, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, like your body needs to adapt to whatever type of training that you're doing. So understanding that when you change things up, your body might feel a bit rough for a week or two, but once you settle into a rhythm and a routine and it gets used to it, then it's going to become almost easier, even if you are training harder going forwards. So it's one of those things where, when I first started running, obviously I'm not just going to start running and be like, yeah, this feels fine. Like, I haven't run in fucking years, bro. Like, so it's one of those things where for me, it was like something like running a kilometer is, the thought of that was like, oh yeah, that should be all right. And I'm like, then I get like 500 meters in and I'm like, oh shit, like, this is actually harder than I remember it to be. And then,
Right.
as you get, you've done 2 runs, 3 runs, 4 runs, whatever, like you're in week 2, 3 or 4 and you're running consistently. It's like, okay, like 1K is cool. Like 1K is chill. I don't feel my legs going. I don't feel my breath going. Like, sweet. All right, we'll go for 1.5 or we'll go for 2 or whatever it might be. And just being able to, maintain that going forward is one of those things where that's where you see improvement. It's like incremental. You're not just going to go out and go, yeah, I can run 5K today. I'm going to go and run 10 miles. Like, I'm going to go and run whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just, like, I wish that was the case.
Yeah.
Like, that would be great. But, like, for me, like, yeah, it's one of those things where start small, build it up, work it all out. And I guess that's kind of what the YouTube channel will cover is figuring out what that looks like. Like how do I train to be a hybrid athlete? So some research goes into it. How do I need to eat to do those things? But still, obviously, I'm doing this for fat loss. So I need to understand that I need enough food that's going to support the training style, but I also need to be in a calorie deficit still to be able to lose the fat. I also don't want to be a skinny bitch by the time I come out of it. So I need to make sure I'm not losing all the muscle that I've gained during this quote unquote bulk that's been the last couple of years of me just putting weight on. So yeah, it'll be an interesting journey just to document and it's not going to be every day. Like it'll be a couple of days a week, like maybe 2 days out of the week I'll record or 3 days out of the week or whatever, see how it goes. And, if it's worth pursuing past that. But yeah, I think people like watching someone's journey to something or watching someone's story, I guess. And that's one thing I really enjoy watching on YouTube anyway, is like how people get to where they are or how people's like transformation happens or whatever. So there's definitely an audience for that. And I think it'll be, interesting in myself to see like now where I'm starting to say 2 months, 3 months down the line when I've been consistent with it and actually gone out and run most days of the week, actually got a lift in most days of the week, eaten right, trained right, done all of those things. Like it's not 75 hard or anything, but it's still an interesting training session and I guess topic to be like, hey, I trained like a hybrid athlete to lose 15 kilos. Like, that's something somebody would watch.
Yeah.
Or learning how to train like a hybrid athlete, episode 1, and that way they know, okay, like there's going to be another episode. I got to come back, so doing it that way. And in that sense, I think people are going to enjoy watching that. So I'm excited to see how it goes. I just got to figure out, there's a lot of planning that goes into a brand new channel. And the fact that I'm starting that and 2 others after Game Expo, like it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of work there to do as well. And like you said, time management is just a whole nother thing as well. So
it is.
I got to make sure I'm on point with everything and not being a lazy cunt. So
it is. Dude, always, bro. When you say that, it blows my mind.
It's the thing is, it's so normal in Australia to say that, and it's like you guys just crack up every time. It's
dude, we don't say that like normally. Like if I said that like here in just like a conversation, people would be like, "What?
Oh my god!
What is he saying?" But I hear you say that every single time I talk to you, so it's not like weird to me.
Well, like it's used so casually out here. Like you'll call someone like a funny cunt because they're legitimately funny, or you'll call someone a sick cunt because they're actually like a cool person. Like it's one of those things where, I don't think the rest of the world understands that we're not actually like insulting someone when we say that.
Right. It's like a term of endearment.
Like if someone calls you just a cunt, then we're insulting you. But if there's like a funny cunt or a like sick cunt or a mad cunt or whatever it might be, like that's usually a term of endearment. So like, I feel like the rest of the world's so confused by that. So let's just get it out.
It's kind of like when you call something gross, or like when you're like, "Yo, that was gross."
Yeah, that was disgusting.
Disgusting. Yeah. Like, or like that music is like, I don't know, just just like the music's like fucking, I don't know, bad. It's not bad, but you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Well, it's like if you call something disgusting, but it's actually like a good thing. It's basically the same thing as like me saying someone's a sick cunt or someone's a mad cunt or like anything along those kind of lines. Like, yeah, I don't know. Same in Britain. Yeah. I mean, I guess if it was going to be the same anywhere in the world, yeah, that's probably where it's going to be the same. So
yeah, that it just doesn't have the same meaning.
Clear that up for the podcast, just so
it means that Dylan loves you if he calls you that.
Exactly.
That's funny, man. That's funny.
I'm gonna plug the YouTube one more time in the chat, and then I'm gonna leave it. That'll be enough.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. Follow that if you guys are in the podcast right now. But yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited to see that journey for you. I'm excited to see where you go with that. I've definitely been training like that for a little bit now, doing more rec marches, doing more runs, stuff like that. Trying to get nutrition back in check, but sometimes it's good to kind of let yourself go free for a little bit when it comes to nutrition. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's good for your mental. So, yeah, man. Look, new styles of training, it's a thing. It's good to change it up. It's good to be in a different spot. If you feel like, if you're listening to this right now and you're like, man, I just keep doing the same thing when I go to the gym. I don't know how to train it up or train differently. I don't know how to switch it up. Number one, hit one of us up and we'd be more than happy to chat with you. Number two, don't be afraid to change it up. We talk about realistic expectations, but in reality, sometimes you just don't know. You don't know how your body's going to react when you start running more. Sometimes you don't know how your body's going to react if you start lifting more. So just go for it. Try it out. See how you feel. Get comfortable, getting a little bit uncomfortable, right? I think there's probably 2 to 3 weeks when you switch things up and make a lot of major adjustments where, okay, this is like an adjustment period, realistically, for most people, right? Unless it's their job or like they are like a athlete, right? And they're just kind of switching it up. I think there's 2 to 3 weeks where it's really a transition period between like, I was doing this, now I'm doing this, right? So just be patient with yourself. If you're looking for that, if you're trying to look for new ways, I think that's important too. One thing we try to do on here is cover kind of every aspect, right? We talked about comprehensive wellness in the first episode, but we try to cover every aspect of health. And so we approach something like a new style of training from not only, what the actual style of training is, but as well, just from a mental side, from a food side, everything like that. So, man, do you have any last words on new styles of training?
No, not so much on new styles of training. I guess it's more one thing that I wanted to share was a quote I saw yesterday, and it's basically like directed towards anyone that's trying something new. And I think obviously new styles of training, sometimes people get into their routine and they're scared to try something different or like unsure about trying something different, or even if it's outside of training and there's something you've always wanted to do, hence me starting this other YouTube channel. And I've always wanted to be in fitness. The quote was, fear has 2 meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. So, if you take the letters of fear and that's, you choose between the two. Yeah, Jack's fucking dumb. So it took him a little while to put that together. So fear, F-E-A-R.
Yeah. Yep.
Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And that's one thing where that decision is on you. Like that's 100% your decision, your commitment, whatever you're going to do. So,
absolutely.
In terms of if you want to be somewhere or do something at a high level or for a career or whatever it may be, you can't be the first option. You can't forget everything and run. You're never going to achieve, I guess, what you're looking to do if you're ignoring the things that you need to be doing. Whereas if you face everything and rise, that's, rising to the challenge, accepting the responsibilities of the challenge, doing the little things you need to do, which, for me is now getting up at 5:30 in the morning, starting early, getting a run done, getting a lift in early in the day so that then, if I'm doing a second workout that day, I can do it during my lunch break. Or if I need to get editing done first thing in the morning, I can get up, at 5:30 in the morning, start some editing and get 2 hours done before work or whatever it might be, just having the discipline to manage whatever it is I need to be doing to get to where I want to be. Then it was just a really good quote. And I felt like it was a good thing to share on this podcast, because we are talking about starting something new and doing a new training style that, if someone else has thought about doing that, they might have been scared to do. But if you want the result, sometimes you got to push through the pain or the uncomfortability, like you said, and get comfortable being uncomfortable. So you gotta,
it's one of the biggest lessons in life that you can learn, man. It's important. You gotta live your life like that, man. That's the only way you're gonna improve, the only way you're gonna get better. And I think beautiful things can come from that change,
Yes, sir.
So, hey, look, Dylan, as always, it's been a fantastic pleasure talking to you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks for waking up early from across the country. Man, I'm coming to you guys from Chicago. Dylan's coming to you guys from Australia.
Yes, sir.
We make it happen. We make it work here at Day Zero Training. Look, if you guys are interested, we are on X, formerly known as Twitter. We are on Instagram. We're live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and X. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Hey, Blake Deuce, thank you, bro.
Thank you, Blake Deuce.
Thank you, Love Banana. Thank you guys for popping in, for chatting. I appreciate you. I see all you guys in here, man. It's super cool to be able to discuss this stuff, to be able to share this stuff with all you guys, man. It's an absolute pleasure. It's a great way to learn more from each other and just have a discussion about these topics. I love this stuff, Dylan. I know you love this stuff, man. March Madness isn't over, though. All right, so
we'll be back next week to talk about the rest of it.
We'll be back next week. Yes, exactly, to talk about the rest of it. Crazy offseason in the NFL. We can talk about that a little bit because I just love talking about sports. So maybe eventually there's going to be a whole sports section, sports podcast. We'll see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much. This has been episode 11 of the Day Zero podcast. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay hydrated.
Yes, sir.
And take it easy.